Do you get anxious before a performance? Do you find yourself shaking and your mouth's dry? You've got knots in your stomach. Your mind races with thoughts of, I'm not good enough and I can't do this, and all those other what ifs that we all get related to self-doubt. Imposter syndrome enters the room and whispers sweet nothings in your ear about how you shouldn't be there. You're torn between you want to do this, but you could quite easily leave the room right now. Maybe you think you're being crazy and you're beating yourself up for feeling this way. What's wrong with me? The good news is it's okay and you're normal and it happens to everyone. It's just a natural human response and it's been happening for millennia. Now, for the science part. When we are under threat or stress, our body's sympathetic nervous system is activated by a sudden release of hormones. This in turn activates the adrenal glands, releasing a combination of adrenaline and noradrenaline. This chain reaction results in an increase in your heart rate, your blood pressure, and your breathing. This is called our fight or flight response. Now, this can be triggered by a physical or a psychological threat, stress, and in our case, stepping out on a stage in front of a room full of people and performing. Remember those feelings that I mentioned earlier? Your mind racing, your dry mouth, your uncontrollable shaking and so on? This is just all part of that automatic response. Of course, this automatic response once upon a time would have been because, we were being faced with a saber-toothed tiger that was looking a bit hungry. Yeah, I know, that's not a saber-toothed tiger, but you wouldn't believe how hard it was to find a decent picture of one. And of course, nowadays, we aren't really threatened by saber-toothed tigers, but there are still threats. There's still psychological threats and there's still physical threats. Our threat in this case is when we go out on stage and we are fearful of looking foolish or getting it wrong in front of an audience. And of course, it's embarrassing, and that in turn is not quite a threat as like a saber-toothed tiger, but nonetheless, we don't like that feeling and we're fearful of it. So you're probably thinking, how can we deal with this? What can we do to temper this response or to take control or take back control from our body's automatic response? Well, the answer is actually pretty simple, and there's a few techniques that we can look at. And I'm going to take a look at a really simple exercise right now, which just involves slowing yourself down and focusing on your body and your breathing. One of the most common ways to help deal with your stress is just this simple breathing exercise. This exercise is for stress and anxiety and panic. And it just takes a few minutes, and it's something that you can do anywhere. Should you be backstage at a club, or you're playing in a pub, or in a theatre, wherever you are, you just need to go and find a quiet space, and you can do this standing, sitting down, lying down, it doesn't matter. Okay, let's have a go. So firstly, make sure you're comfortable, and you can do this standing up, sitting down. You could use a supportive chair, or if you can, lie on a yoga mat. No, not like this Zen master. You don't have to be like him. Or lying on a bed. If you are lying on the bed, lie with your arms palms up, just slightly away from your sides with your legs straight. Or if you prefer, you can bend your knees and have your feet flat on the bed surface. Okay, so now you've got yourself comfortable. You need to think about your breathing. Okay. Let your breath flow as deeply into your belly as is comfortable, but without forcing it. Try breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. Now you need to breathe in gently and steadily. Some people like to count their breath in from 1 to 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then without pausing, and don't hold your breath, breathe out gently, counting from 1 to 5 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Don't worry if you can't get to 5 first time. Try 1 to 3, 1 to 2, whatever feels comfortable. But count in with that breath in and count out the same. But you don't need to force it, it needs to be gentle. Okay, I'm going to give you a moment. I'm just going to count 1 to 5 and follow your breathing out and your breathing in. Okay, breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I hope you found that useful, and I hope that you found focusing in on your breathing and on your body and your posture really a good way to kind of, and a simple way of focusing yourself before perhaps you go on stage. Another great technique I'd just like to quickly mention is there's the technique, the Alexander technique, which again kind of focuses on things like breathing and posture, but there's so much more than I could ever mention in this one video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave down in the description below, I'm going to leave a link to some resources about the Alexander technique. So if you found the breathing and the posture really useful, it's definitely something you should go and look into. Okay, so with that in mind, I think there are a few other pointers that I could perhaps suggest that do help, or certainly have helped me over time with anxiety going on stage. I certainly suffered from stage fright for a period of time where I really struggled. I had to take lyric books on stage with me. Didn't enjoy performing at all. I went through a really difficult stage. So my first technique that I would definitely suggest, and you're probably going to hate this, but it's true, and it's practice, practice, practice. The more prepared you are, the more you know your material, the more you know what you're playing, the more you're familiar with it and you just develop that muscle memory, the more you'll be able to feel confident when you do go on stage, which kind of negates that panic and that fear. For me, I knew when I walked on stage several times that I just hadn't bothered to prepare myself enough. And that was on me and it was my fault. But I didn't think about it until I got to that point of, okay, I'm now walking on stage. And ever since the last time I did that, practice, 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 and my performances got better. The response to my performances got better, because the other thing is, if you're nervous and you're visibly nervous and the audience sees it, it can make them uncomfortable too. And you don't want that. You want to, even if you are feeling nervous, portray that confidence. Something else that you could think about doing when you're preparing is, we've all got songs that we're better at or feel more confident, or the older songs that we're stronger at. And that's something else that you could think about before getting on stage as part of your preparation, is looking at what material you're most familiar with, what you're most confident with playing or singing. And look at your set list and perhaps put one of those songs that you know you can walk onto any stage at any time and deliver as your first opening number. Because once you've got through that song, before you know it, it's the end of your set. I think another thing that you might find that you feel when you're on stage is time seems to be infinite. You're on stage and you'll do something and you'll make that mistake and you'll just think that, or you'll break a string, that can knock your confidence. Something happens technically that goes wrong. And you know what? Most of the time, these things only take a few seconds, but they feel like an eternity. This is another good opportunity, perhaps, if these things do happen and the sound goes down and you have to wait, you can just center yourself and breathe and realize that most of the time how you're experiencing that period of time is not what the audience is experiencing. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you again very soon. Take care of yourselves, be kind to each other, and I'll see you again very soon.